Mark 4:16-20. Others, like seed sown on rocky places, hear the word and at once receive it with joy. But since they have no root, they last only a short time. When trouble or persecution comes because of the word, they quickly fall away. Still others, like seed sown among thorns, hear the word, but the worries of this life, the deceitfulness of wealth, and the desires for other things come in and choke the word, making it unfruitful. Others, like seed sown on good soil, hear the word, accept it, and produce a crop, some 30, some 60, some 100 times what was sown. Mark 4:16-20. Bonjour et bienvenue to my little corner of the internet. My name is Yara de Julio, and today we are going to be talking about how the mind irrationalizes the truth, a continuation of The Color of Rage, Part 2. How does the mind irrationalize the truths we know? The depth of our knowledge, our clarity on our own personal affairs determines our response during distressing times. We can only assess the depth of our own perception through honest, unfiltered, raw self-reflection. If you can't be honest with anyone else, you should at the very least be very honest with yourself. Some ways that you can reflect or gauge your clarity on yourself, on your own personal affairs, on what's going on internally. Is through activities like prayer, meditation, or consulting a trusted friend or family member and asking them to give you an honest assessment on things that they see you can work on. With that being said, that is how the mind irrationalizes the truths we know. Because of the depth or the lack of depth with our knowledge and the clarity of what's going on internally, what's our homeostasis, what's our equilibrium like, our knowledge of that determines how firmly we are rooted in the truths that we know, how firmly we are rooted in knowing what is right and what is wrong. You see what I mean? Great. I'm glad we've come to this understanding. If you need some help, a little guided self-reflection, I highly recommend watching The 5 Hindrances to Self-Mastery. It is a TED Talk by Master Shi-Hung Yi. I think it's like less than 20 minutes long. It's a great resource to you when you're trying to self-reflect. So now we're going to talk about how I'm managing my problem. Pretty much what's my game plan and what are some conclusions that I've come to. So after some reflection, after much reflection, not some, lots of reflection, I understand that the basis of my anger is not truly anger. It is unchecked fear and anxiety. It is the lack of feeling in control of something I planned and rehearsed many times. When that fear is not acknowledged, it sprouts into that ugly beast, that ugly emotion that we call anger. So plans, schedules, calendars, and routines are all utilized as a security blanket for me. And as an adult kid, I can no longer lash out when my plans or my schedule and my calendar, when essentially things don't go my way. I can't shut down. I can't afford to do that anymore. We are young, mature, adult children who need to monitor, assess, and control their emotions. How am I doing that? Well, I'm doing that by having to constantly remind myself that I must assume the mental space of it is what it is. It is what it is. I must realize that when things happen unaccordingly to plans, I have to accept, acknowledge, and allow the situation or a person to be the way how it is or to be the way how they are. When you are clear and sound in mind, I would recommend that you take out the time to write a game plan. That's what I did, to acknowledge and address something that you're facing, a problem that you're facing. It can be anger, it can be procrastination, it could be depression, it could be worry, it could be anxiety, it could be addiction, it could be a sundry of things, a plethora of emotions or characteristics that you deem less than desirable in yourself, or that are less than desirable. So the next thing that I did was investigating my emotional and mental state when I'm angry. And this is all written down on the game plan. I asked myself, for an example, why am I angry? Why am I anxious? Why am I worrisome? What are the consequences if I remain in this place? And what are the truths associated with this problem? So what are the truths? Truths can either be quotes, scientific studies, anything, whatever you use to delineate fact and opinion, whatever you use to keep yourself emotionally checked. For me, my standard of truth, or something that keeps me emotionally checked, is my spirituality. So the Bible, for an example. For anger, I would use verses like Proverbs 19:11 or Proverbs 16:32, or even Matthew 6:25-34, which specifically addresses the cure for anxiety. I also like to use quotes from different philosophical thinkers. For an example, Siddhartha Gautama stated, "Holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die." Master Shihang Yi states that the principle of non-identification is I am not the body, I am not the mind, and I am not my emotion. Another quote by Master Shihang Yi would be, uncondition yourself to not get angry because of things that have nothing to do with your existential fear or your existential security. So, in sum, we must utilize the resources that fall in line with your standard of truth and look at it this way. You have a primary teacher who explains a concept to you, and then you go to YouTube, the internet, or the library to find different resources on how that same concept is being explained since. So what's the other thing? You have your game plan, you figured out what's the root of your problem, you know what truths are associated with your problem, you have a whole thinking process. What do you do now? You know these truths, you reaffirm the truth to you, and for some people, reaffirming the truth to themselves, it works. It steadies them. It keeps them calm. It keeps them from lashing out. It keeps them from worrying, from procrastinating, from indulging in an activity that they shouldn't. It keeps them from being angry. So what about the people who need a little bit more? Sometimes when I'm angry or when I'm worried or fearful, I need a little extra. Yes, I've reaffirmed these truths to myself, but what do I do now? So think about this. What is a healthy, accessible coping mechanism you can use in times of distress? For me, I like to meditate, I like to pray, I like to sing, bake, cook. Oh, not too much cooking, that's a lie. Hold up. Rewind. I like to bake, I like to draw, for you, it may be cooking, it may be hiking, it may be running, it may be exercising. I don't like cardio, but I can go lift some weights. It may be so many things that you're interested in. Maybe knitting or crocheting. I think you get my point. I'm kind of dragging this part, but I think you get my point. In conclusion, you want to make your game plan easily accessible as a reminder to hold you accountable. When you are distressed, you need to take a moment to reach for your game plan. That's something that I'm also learning. Instead of speed running the consequences of anger, I'm gonna speed run getting my game plan. I'm gonna speed run reaching for my game plan so that I can quickly get myself to a place where I'm meant to. Here's some encouragement. It may be hard, it may be difficult and challenging in the beginning. The more you struggle with the problem, the more opportunities you have to reaffirm to yourself that you are capable of overcoming it. The more you reaffirm to yourself that you are capable of overcoming your problems, the less your problems are perceived as. Take a minute to think about that, because I was
boom, bam, bop, bada bop, boom, pow.
hitting bars. Okay. Okay, I'm done now. This was a bit of a long video, but I'm done now. So I encourage you, if you're struggling with something, one of those emotions that I have mentioned, one of those problems that I mentioned, take a moment to make a game plan. Have some diversions set in place to help you with navigating your emotions once you set your game plan in motion. And I believe that's all. I don't want to drag this video any further, but that's all for me. So in closing, as always, merci un peu for listening to my discussion. Don't be afraid to weigh in the comment section with your perspective or opinion on this discussion. I'll be more than happy to read them, and I'm always open to constructive criticism. So you are more than welcome to leave your critiques in the comment section as well. Once again, merci un peu, no way pita.
Loser! You're a loser! Are you feeling sorry for yourself? Well, you should be, because you are dirt! You make me sick, you big baby! Baby want a bottle?